After the devastating start to episode 1, this episode had better not have anything that's going to raise my blood pressure. Oh, for f***'s sake, what the oh my... Robin goes to have a lookie around Highgate Cemetery and says that the tour isn't cheap. Girl, it's £14 to £18 for a guided tour depending on which one you go on, and that cash goes towards the upkeep of the historic grounds, so maybe settle down a bit. Pat continues being the MPV of the agency /show /books /my heart by bringing the injured Strike a fruitcake. She ate a bit of it though because she was hungry. Pat thinks Strike might have fallen to some sort of alien invasion body swap scenario when he asks her for some salad. At Highgate, Robin finds the real-life place that Anomie made his dramatic-ass murder confession tour in the game, and calls DCI No-Riz to ask exactly where Edie's body was found. Dick attempts to initiate courtship, and Robin, not understanding what he meant by "go for a drink," asks if she should bring Strike along. Look at her reaction to his asking her out. She has zero interest in this man. Had not considered him as an option at all. I think the sheer amount of awkwardness DCI Dick has in this scene is meant to endear him to us. But my biased shipper heart just can't bring myself to like him, knowing what's coming in the next book. The actor does a great job though. If I didn't know what was coming, I'd probably love him. After the awkward call of awkwardness, Robin goes for a wander around what looks like the opening scene from a horror movie and somehow doesn't jump out of her skin and pee her pants when Pez appears out of nowhere. He knows that this is the spot where Edie's body was found. Now, Pez does have his charisma stat set to max and flirts endlessly with Robin. He fills her in on Kia Niven claiming to have invented the ink black heart, and shows off his artistic prowess. When Midge is watching the North Grove art house, I thought this figure in the window was going to be Nils and Mariam's creepy ass kid, Bram, but thankfully he was cut from the show version because creepy kids should not be allowed on television. Midge tells Robin that Strike was burnt and hurt himself. They are best mates and business partners, they should be sharing this news, but they continue to disappoint me in the communication department. So Robin goes to check on him, gets in his bed, and they make jokes about cucumbers, which is so close to what I want them to be doing in bed. In amongst some exposition explaining the far-right Halvening organisation and their flawed Viking ideology, the pair's easy camaraderie begins to reappear. They visit Josh Blay, the other creator of Ink Black Heart, who almost died the night Edie did. Book Josh has a condition called situs inversus, where all his organs are in the wrong place, a mirror image of where they should be, so when Anomie stabs him in the heart, he misses. Facing a lifetime of disability, Josh is understandably down. He blames himself for not defending Edie and wrote an apology letter for her, which he asked to be placed in her coffin. Josh's accidentally telling Kia over the phone that he would be at the cemetery the next evening was a clever way to keep her in the suspect pool. In the book he does call but doesn't reveal that fact. Josh is upset, his face covered in tears and snot. Strike cleans him up whilst giving him a speech about why he has to fight and go on living. And Robin is all,
"You better put a baby inside of me right now."
SSS, that stands for Sexy Scottish Sam, is spying on the murdered Edie's fiancé and sees him dropping what looks like an envelope full of documents to the most annoying character in this story and maybe even the entire series, Yasmin. They keep pointing out that they are short-staffed but haven't got Dev in the adaptation. Because it was already a very character-heavy adaptation? Who knows, but it leads to Strike having yet another excuse to call Robin brilliant.
I mean, I didn't know anything when I started.
You were brilliant from the start. That never happens.
Which is a-okay by me. Sadly for Strike and Robin, they have to go and visit Josh and Edie's former manager, Katia Upcott, who is borderline obsessed with Josh. She is simultaneously giving off I want to mother him and I want to shag him vibes. Her seemingly polite teenage son answers the door, and I'm sorry, but that's an incel right there. That is the most picture-perfect depiction of lives in his mum's basement, calls women females, never touched grass in his life incel I have ever seen. They should have spotted him right away. And they do. In the book, Strikes puts together that Gus could be online harassing people in his room, playing recordings of his cello music to trick his parents into thinking he is practicing right after their first visit to the Upcott house. He even says that Gus could be bugging Katia to find out all the insider info on Josh and Edie, and all of that turns out to be true. With hindsight, it all seems so obvious. So, did I solve this one whilst reading? No. During their visit, Robin and Strike get to watch this delightful man verbally abuse his wife and daughter. If I was them, I would have taken Katya's list of Josh and Edie's friends and left, because these people are annoying AF. But that is also why I wouldn't solve the crime, because they get a lot of info out of them. Plus, this brooch and the artwork on the wall are wonderful, so well worth a visit. Daddy Upcott defends Kia Niven for some reason, and he's finally on the board.
I could approach Philip Allman without cover. I suggest getting a pint with him.
How's that health kit going?
Pint of water, obviously.
A few minutes later.
They seem to be circling the Upcott household as the place the killer might be when Robin gets a call confirming her flat purchase, and they hug. I need a minimum 2 hugs per adaptation. And because I can't have nice things, after the lovely hug moment, Charlotte returns. Gonna go ahead and make a prediction here. Because these books are full of twin moments and because the threat of Johnny Rokeby just turning up to see Strike one day has been looming for a while now, I think in a future book the deadbeat dad is gonna pitch up at the office when Robin and Strike are having a romantic moment, absolutely confusing this poor man's heart and ending me.
What I need, a private detective.
Missing some Dalmatians.
During her brief trip to Denmark Street, Charlotte tries to manipulate Strike into helping her, talks about her children as if they were a nice sideboard she would quite like to keep in the divorce, and on her way out the door drops a bombshell that Strike has been shagging a lady who looks exactly like Robin.
I liked her coat.
All this chat about Madeline must have thrown non-book readers a bit because the showrunners completely off-screened her character. Robin demands answers about the damage to their business bit that Charlotte said, and the worst part of this adaptation for my liking happens. Strike shouting at Robin, which he does quite a few times throughout these episodes. Them not communicating at all had to come to a head at some point, yes, but I'd prefer that resolution didn't have him yelling. She tells him to build a bridge and get the fuck over it because they will be helping Charlotte to keep the agency out of the tabloids. He apologises for the mess they are in, which is something he has struggled to do in the past, so growth, I guess? But then he says this.
Don't go over there.
Well, I'm not going to talk to him, am I?
As if she would, Strike, what the fuck? This isn't her first or even her 5th rodeo, my dude. She knows what she's doing. Back at drawing hands class, Robin pulls the going to the bathroom trick. Do not let either of these two use your toilet if you've committed a murder, by the way. She briefly meets funny prankman Wally, who doesn't live at North Grove in the books anymore, but I'm guessing he's in the scene to keep him in the mix as a potential Anomie. The head weirdo in charge introduces himself.
Have you seen a cat?
No, sorry.
He's disappeared. I worry that somebody has killed him.
Why would someone do that?
It's something that happens, as we know.
Do we know that though? Nils shows her the art he's been making with his dead father's ashes, which is super normal, and he has some full Ultima crap on a painting of Edie. He comes off as a full of himself weirdo sexist, and Pez had already mentioned that he voted for someone who was far right, so that's all there. But he felt more of a pervert in the books to me, and Robin felt a little bit more in danger being alone with him. Pez arrives to take Robin to the pub. Robin checks both Nils and Pez off the suspect list because Anomie is online and they were nowhere near a computer. Strike meets with former cop / Edie's fiance Philip Ormond. He teaches computer science, so he's a good suspect for either of the creators of the game, and he's also in the running for most punchable face of the year. Ormond lies and pretends not to really know the lady he was just seen giving a big envelope to. Just as an aside, I did an etching course. Splashes of the acid happen, and as a precaution they always have safety goggles, gloves and a hand washing station nearby. So, if you do get acid on your skin, you can wash it off right away without injury. So this idiot must have managed to both not wear safety gloves and fail to wash his hands after being exposed. Strike, knowing Barclay is outside ready to tail Ormond, baits him by telling him that the police could trace Edie's missing mobile phone and would be able to find the person with it in minutes once it's turned on, which isn't entirely truthful, but I'm fine with this little rascal lying to suspects to catch him out. Ormond, despite being a bit of a shit, manages to spot Barclay tailing him.
Paranoid bastard.
Robin is on yet another not a date, this time with Pez, who specifically has a tattoo designed to make a woman lean in close so that he can kiss them. Can't decide if that's genius or creepy. Pez thinks Punchable Face Man is Anomie because he's been trying to get his hands on everything Edie was working on. Strike is having an awful night. He's seen his ex, she stirs shit up, he fought with Robin, is injured and drinking alone. Then Robin sends him a recorded conversation with Pez and he accidentally hears them kissing. Not as bad a night as Barclay's about to have though. After being spotted, he manages to creep up on Ormond, chucking Edie's mobile into a river. But Ormond spots him again and runs him off the road. Which is not in the book, but I love the extra drama. Ending episode 2 with Philip, Punchable Face Ormond as our #1 suspect. This episode, like the last, does a great job at introducing all the main players and moving parts without overwhelming the audience, which isn't easy to do when you have so much book content to get through. I enjoyed Strike and Robin drifting back towards each other after the post-kiss attempt distance, and the hospital scenes with Josh were exactly as I pictured them from the book. As Flavia turns out to be a large part of solving the murder by being the one making the dig up the letters phone calls, I felt she could have gotten a wee bit more screen time. And speaking of low screen time, where was Gus? You know, the literal murderer. His blink and you'll miss him appearance was clearly aiming to keep the reveal under wraps for non-book reading viewers, but missed that and sent him straight into the "wait, who the hell is that?" territory for the final confrontation scene in episode 4. My final score for this episode is 10 out of 10 for the Pat bits and because SSS is in his very own action movie while everyone else is in a murder mystery. But that's just what this fangirl thought of it all. Tell me your thoughts below. Okay, love you, bye!